Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm shuffling the messages from the Mermaids deck to pick 3 significator cards for a pick a card. So let's see what comes through. I have that for pile 1. This for pile 3. And then I'm being guided to shuffle more for pile 2's significator. And while I'm shuffling, I want to let you know that this reading, I normally don't put a topic on my readings. I normally don't assign a topic to my readings. I like to be as open as possible to whatever the spirit guides and higher selves of the collective want to bring through. And in order to accomplish that, I just ask for guidance for the highest and best good, messages for the highest and best good from the spirit guides and higher selves of the collective. And if a theme comes through in the groups or in the general reading, I'll mention that in the title of the video as a topic. But if it doesn't, then that makes it just a guidance reading. But today I've been guided, as well as being guided to use the messages from the Mermaids deck, guided to call this an eclipse reading about gifts that are coming to you in the next 3 months. And of course there will also be guidance about various parts of your life, potentially how to line up with those gifts, guidance about how to best receive and place yourself in the path of these gifts, or how to best maximize and optimize and take advantage of these gifts. I'm not sure what type of guidance will come through, but I've been told that of course, like always, there will be guidance, but that the topic is gifts for the next 3 months, and that's because of this eclipse period that we're entering with the eclipse this week. So with that said, let's see what these piles are. Turn Away is the card for pile 1. Discernment is the card for pile 2. And Dreaming is the card for pile 3. So you will find timestamps in the description box for each of these 3 piles. Take a moment to tune into your own gut and your own spirit and heart to see which pile or piles are calling to you and have messages for you today. And I look forward to seeing you at your reading. Hello, pile 1, and welcome to your reading. This is your group if you chose the Turn Away significator card from the messages from the Mermaids deck. And I'm hearing Turn Around Bright Eyes from the song Total Eclipse of the Heart, which is interesting because in the context of that song, I've always taken that line to mean, turn back to me, I'm trying to love you, let me love you. Instead of turning away from me, turn back to me. And I'm getting the energy also of turning over the soil in a field to allow it to be ready to be fertilized and have crops planted. And with that energy of turning back towards love, not only turning away from a negative focus that is distracting you and draining your energy, and not only turning towards a loving focus, gentleness towards yourself, turning away from that which is harsh and hurts you, and towards that which is gentle and loving and nourishes you and feeds you. I'm getting this very much, but also turning yourself around internally. So turning your perspective around in the sense of shifting what your focus is on, but also turning it around in the sense of kind of turning it upside down. Instead of seeing yourself as buried under obstacles, seeing them as, it sounds trite, but opportunities. And if that sounds too trite or unrealistic, seeing the challenges as the fertilizer that is fodder for growth, instead of only as challenges, only as obstacles. It's like that saying, no mud, no lotus. I'm getting some clarification there on why I got that image of turning over the fields. It's like these challenges are preparing the fields and preparing the way, But on an internal level, it's recognizing that you aren't powerless to the challenges and simply buried under them, but you actually do have great power in choosing what you do with these challenges, how you react to them, how you respond to them. And your initial reaction of overwhelm, of feeling buried and drowning, is not a condemnation of you, and it's not a death sentence. It's not something that you can't undo. It's not something that means something permanent about you. It's a normal reaction. And you actually get to choose what you then do with that reaction and with the circumstances going forward. I'm going to move that out of the sunlight because that purple fluorite doesn't love the sunlight so much. The opalite does, but the purple fluorite doesn't. Yeah, and with this little bit of light slanting in through the window here, I'm also being reminded, like, turning away from the shadows and towards the light when that's what's called for, but also turning towards the shadows when that's what's called for, instead of turning away from the parts of you that are most desperately in need of your love, turning towards them, and away from the powerlessness that tells you there's nothing you can do for them but ignore them and hope they go away. No, you actually have all of the power to love and feed and nourish and transform those aspects of you that most need it, those shadow aspects, those traumatized parts of you, those wounded parts of you, those angry or suppressed parts of you. Yes. There was another thought on the tip of my tongue about that, but it's just disappeared like that. So I'm being guided to turn to another deck now to get clarification, and if that thought was important, it will come back to me in another form. Which deck, Spirit? Which deck? Okay, I'm being drawn to the Unfolding Path Tarot. Let's get shuffling. Sometimes I think I should change my channel name to Let's Get Shuffling. I just love saying that so much. What gifts are coming in the next 3 months for pile 1, Spirit? What energies of the lunar eclipse are you wanting to translate for pile 1, Spirit? What opportunities are the eclipse season moons bringing to pile 1? And what else about this turn away energy do you want to bring through, Spirit? How does this relate to the gifts that are coming in? What does pile 1 need to learn? The first gift is definitely that recognition of your free will, of, wait a second, I don't have to be buried under these obstacles. I'm not actually at the mercy of them. I'm not actually powerless to them. It's true, I can't control them or change them from ever having happened. I can't make the past unhappen, but I do have the power of choosing what I do with what is here in this reality. There's like a surrender and acceptance without rolling over and saying, okay, I guess you can just take me and I'm done and I'm giving up. Yeah, that taking your focus off of one thing and putting it on another thing theme is coming through again there, with take your hands off of trying to like control the things that can't be changed and recognize where your true power is. King of Pentacles. Talk about power. Very grounded power, confidence, security, riches. The 4 of Swords, and that is in reverse. Rest, healing, a time for healing. 8 of Swords. Yes, a time for healing for sure. The 8 of Swords is a reflection of this energy of feeling trapped by things that you actually are not necessarily at the mercy of, and being trapped by this state of mind of being the victim of circumstance and unable to shift, change, and transmute the circumstances. And now, I do hope my words are doing justice to this, because it is a pretty difficult concept to get into words, because words are not quite precise enough to fully differentiate between control and power, control and free will. So there's this powerlessness that comes from being fixated on the aspects of the situation that you can't control. For whatever reason, these swords are in the ground, but you don't have to be fixated on them. You can think about the ways that you can get around them. You can think about whether it would be possible to pull them up from the ground. You don't have to be grabbing onto the blades and cutting your hands. You don't have to be resigned to staying behind bars. And that is a metaphor for this shift of perspective in life. And there's a gift of liberation coming through here. The King of Pentacles speaks to there at the end of the road, at the end of the line, being tangible rewards and fruits to your labors, tangible confidence and security, tangible riches, whether they are lessons learned or literal wealth or connections secured that you might have been too scared to make if you stayed imprisoned in fear. Tangible gains from the liberation and the rest. The Four of Swords being in reversed, I'm not completely clear on that, because normally I would take that as you're not allowing yourself to rest, but that's not, I see, okay. It's not so much that you're not allowing yourself to rest in this like hustle, burnout culture way. It's that the Eight of Swords, trapped in fear mind state, has been disturbing your rest. That's what the Four of Swords is reflecting. We're definitely going to be getting more clarification on other meanings for these cards as well. But Four of Swords reversed to Eight of Swords, King of Pentacles. The trapped in fear mindset has been disturbing your rest. It's time for liberation. It's time to turn away from the trap and kind of turn the perspective on its head and realize the ways in which you can compost the hand you've been dealt and transmute it, alchemy-like, from lead into gold. Recognize, if I actually have the power to make the best of a crappy situation, what gold can I get out of this mine, out of this lead that I have been handed? I've been handed sludge, but if it's actually in my power to transmute it into something that is positive, to transmute it into gold with the King of Pentacles, to transmute it into tangible, solid gains for myself, then what are those gains and how can I do that for myself? And you asking yourself in spirit, that will yield a whole bunch of answers that are specific to your situation, but we're also going to try to get more answers to that through this reading for the collective. It is not your fault that these circumstances happened, and believing that it is, or that these circumstances reflect something about your deservingness, may be part of what is trapping you in this mindset of fear or of being at the mercy of them. It may be that believing that these circumstances or what's happened to you means that there's something not good enough or not as good as it should be or undeserving about you, then also reflects that because of that, you don't have what it takes to do something about it and to turn this situation around, to turn yourself around. But you do, and that is a power that no one can take away. The kings are so unshakable in tarot. No one can take away their power because they have set down roots, especially the King of Pentacles being the earth element. That power has set down roots. And recognizing It is time right now in your life to recognize that it is not your fault that these situations happened, that they came to be. You didn't actually do anything wrong to cause these situations. Everyone, no exceptions, everyone in life makes mistakes. And recognition of your mistakes is not a condemnation. It's not a condemnation to some sort of half-life where all there is to you is your mistakes. There's so much more to you besides that. And there's a very clear message here that that taking into account a reckoning of the mistakes you've made and the wonderful choices you've made and the wise choices you've made and the times you've done the right thing when it was hard and the times when you didn't know what the right thing to do was, and it wasn't your fault that you didn't know, and you really truly did your best with what you had. Taking all these things into account, the mistakes that figure among that sort of figurative record keeping had nothing to do with how you wound up in situations where you were victimized. And the feelings of having been victimized are valid. And if you need to scream or cry those out, you absolutely can and should and have every right to. You don't have to stay in a freeze state, in a play dead state. You don't have to be quiet. You can share your story with others. You can talk to others. You can talk to a therapist or counselor. You can speak to family and friends about the things that have happened to you. You can own that they were not your fault. The silence drives stakes into the shame is what I'm hearing from Spirit. The silence drives stakes into the shame, and that shame is not yours to carry, and it never was. And so it's time to liberate yourself from that, because it is not your fault that these things happened, and it is your choice what to do with where you've ended up, whether to roll over and give in or to start a fire that will burn away the obstacles and transmute the shame from silence into a story that helps you own your power. And that hasn't ended yet. It hasn't ended yet. Yeah, with the Four of Swords reversed there, it's like your story isn't over. You have needed rest to recover from the things that have happened to you so that you can take up the sword and light the fire and transmute and fertilize your new beginning from the compost of the crap that's happened to you. But your resting is not does not necessarily mean you giving up. It doesn't necessitate you giving up. You resting is not you laying down your sword for good and accepting that the story is over. With Turn Away, there is a past story that is over that with Six of Swords energy you get to fully let go of now. And that is your birthright, to be able to let go and move on. When something is done, you don't have to cling to it like this individual is clinging to the swords that are cutting their hands. You don't have to keep holding on to shards of the past. They're just broken glass. Just sweep them away and put them in the trash. You don't have to let them dig into your hands. There's no purpose being served there, and it's time for that shame to also get swept away and transmuted. So yes, to reiterate, it's not your fault when bad things happen to you, and it's not your fault that bad things have happened to you. It is your calling. It's your call. It's your choice whether to pick up and move on and continue. And it's your calling to do so. Your mission should you choose to accept it. And it's your call how you do it. Your only duty is to yourself. You get to move on in a way that is loving and gentle to yourself. And the exact opposite, with this energy of opposites, from turn away towards one thing and towards the polar opposite, you get to move on and heal yourself in a way that is the exact opposite of the harshness with which you have been treated and with which you perhaps learned to treat yourself. Another card here. The Queen of Pentacles. Wow. Sorry, I just rocked the table. I'm not sure if that badly affected the image. The Queen of Pentacles. We have the rabbit representing fertility. And there is a sensuality to this posture on the Queen of Pentacles as well. There's so much earthy abundance in the Queen of Pentacles that matches the security of the King of Pentacles. I'm hearing your energy is coming into balance, which makes sense. We have the even stable numbers of the 4 and 8 with the swords, and we have the King and Queen together representing balance. So it's like turning away from these extreme ways of being. If I'm not perfect, then I must be the absolute worst and worthless and not worth anything. This really low self-esteem unless you're perfect. It's like this balance instead of, actually, I'm a living organic thing with all the crops and harvest energy in the Pentacles. I deserve to be nourished, and the challenges that I've gone through, that saying, grow through what you go through, those challenges, if I am capable of turning them into compost to till the fields with, then how am I going to go about doing that? Let me go about doing that. One of the sort of hows that might help a little bit with shifting your perspective, I'm getting sort of a memo from Spirit that there might be some journaling exercises that might help with unsticking yourself from a perspective that's so black and white and catastrophizing, like that perspective of, if I am not perfect, if I mess one thing up, then I've ruined everything, and I am dog doo-doo, so to speak, and I am a worthless person, a POS person, you know. These phrases are things that I'm hearing, so I think they're things that I'm getting from the thoughts of the collective, that negative self-talk of the collective, because they're not necessarily phrases I normally use myself. So a journaling thing you could do is to, they're bringing me back to that almost like record-keeping idea of, take the sting and the power out of, take the charge out of the things that you're so scared of about yourself and about your life, the things that you're so scared to mean that you are worthless, the things that you're so scared are evidence of undeservingness or of having done something wrong. Write some of those things down, write down some of those negative beliefs about yourself. Also write down, what are some things I've done right? It doesn't matter how long ago or how recent for either of these sort of columns. What are some things I've done right? Also, that part that came through before about what are times when I really didn't know what the right thing to do was, and I did the best I could, despite the confusion, despite the unworkability of the situation. There's something about writing it down and making it objective and taking the sting and charge out of it, because writing it down, or if it feels better to speaking aloud, but definitely I'm getting writing it down tangibly with all the pentacles here. It's like, get it out of your head and onto paper with these swords and then the pentacles. It's like making it tangible will shine light on it that is sorely needed. Shine light on these shadows that will show you, wait a second, these aren't as bad as I thought. When I actually like take a reckoning of these mistakes that I've considered so bad about myself, well, it's kind of like that comedy line, did you die though? It's like, well, it's not like I murdered someone, you know, it's not like I committed this heinous crime. I see these mistakes on paper, and I see the fumblings of a young person or a younger person, a past version of myself who is trying their best and deserves compassion. How would you speak to someone if it was like a younger sibling, a child, a younger cousin, a very dear friend, or even like your own parent potentially? How would you speak to someone that was dear to you if they were self-flagellating over these things that you have potentially just written down or spoken out? And confront that, because the fear of confronting it is worse than the actual thing. And they're showing me someone like gently, vigorously and urgently, but gently sweeping the dirt off of an artifact that they've unearthed. It's like we're talking about the gifts of the next 3 months in this reading, and it's like the gift of that self-liberation and self-esteem, confidence, security, self-worth, the gift of the liberation from feeling trapped by fear and trapped by feeling less than and like you're not good enough or don't have what it takes to do the things that you perhaps wish to pursue. The gift of that liberation and empowerment is just a little bit buried under the dust and grime of these thoughts and beliefs and memories. And you actually have a choice about whether to allow yourself to continue to be trapped in them. And with the king and queen here, it's like the power, the gift here is the power being put back in your hands. A light bulb going on that shows you, wait, I actually have a say here. How I react to and respond to this circumstance and what I make out of this situation is in my power and in my hands, even though the situation that landed in my lap was out of my control. What I do with it is now in my control. What can I return to sender now that it's landed in my lap? What can I take apart and use to make something better? What can I simply destroy because the world is better off without it in it? And that fire of your power being more than enough to burn away these ghosts of negative thoughts, these phantoms of fear, these ghosts of beliefs that were created by circumstances that are now long gone and no longer need to have any grip or sway over you. Which deck are you drawing me to next, Spirit? Oh, okay. That took me a second. We're going to shuffle the Frequency Tarot to get our next message. How perfect is that? Empowerment. Empowerment. Wow. The synchronicities cannot be made up, y'all. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm going to read from the guidebook, number 3, empowerment. That's also Empress energy, the number 3. Expansion. Yeah, there's a gift of expansion, a massive expansion in your self-concept. From recognizing, wait, I was victimized, but I'm no longer the victim of the self-concept that those wounds gave me. I can change that, actually. I can change my life. I can choose my actions. I can choose my responses. The empowerment of that is leading to a massive expansion. Just like, imagine that this massive, like star-like quantity of light is bundled up into the tiny confines of this cage behind the swords, and then imagine the confines are taken away. The light just floods the surrounding area, the surrounding environs. That's the type of massive expansion you are in for over the next 3 months. Again, I'm getting that your mission, should you choose to accept it, should you choose to answer the call here, that type of massive expansion. Just like, yes, it's just like this starburst in the empowerment card. Your light, your power bursting forth from you. And just like with the swords representing thoughts and ideas and concepts, it's your self-concept most of all that is in for this expansion. We have the sea in the Mermaid's deck. Almost unknowable depths in the sea. It cannot be contained, and neither can you. You are not meant to be contained and confined. Because you were confined in the past, it gave you this idea that that was what you were meant for, that was how it was supposed to be, that was what you deserved, that was all you were good for or good enough for. That was all you were capable of, was sort of like answering to the demands of others, the commands or input or influence of others, answering to the requests or orders of others. But that actually was never what you were meant for. That contrast, it's up to you whether to take or leave this sort of concept But one of the concepts coming through as part of your massive reframe here is the only reason that contrast of having been confined when you were never meant for confinement came into your life was so that you would experience the contrast and understand liberation by going through the process of liberation, instead of simply always having freedom and therefore taking it for granted and not really understanding what it means to be confined and what it means to be liberated, and not understanding the plight of others who have also gone through circumstances that have victimized or confined them or caged them or limited them, limited their self-concept. It's not your fault that people in the past and events have limited your concept of what you believed was possible for you, who you believed you were, who you thought you could be or become. It's not your fault that those things happened or that those people did those things. And it is now up to you to reclaim your self-concept, take it back, take the power back. With these pentacles in the hands here, I'm getting like, take the power back. I often see the pentacle as representing self-worth. Take that back. With the king and queen here, you are the sovereign. Yes, that's another layer of meaning that just clicked for me, and I'm like, oh, it makes everything make so much sense. You are the sovereign. You are the king or queen or both. The Empress with that number 3 coming through. Of your own life and of your own self. Your rule, what you say goes. You reign supreme. You're the only one who reigns in your own life and in your own mind and in your own actions. You're the only one. And in the past, that wasn't the case, because as humans, we all grow up susceptible to others, because we aren't the only one whose say goes when we're children. That's simply not how it works for us as human children. We don't have that freedom. So there are things in the past from childhood, and also perhaps more recent than that, that have fed sort of the beast or the monster of these beliefs about yourself. But they're not true. And it is time for you to take that power back, to claim your birthright of expansion and open to exploration of infinite possibilities, just like this mermaid swimming around in the sea, because these crumbs that you've been consigning yourself to are so tiny, and they thought you were all that you could have, so you probably can't even imagine or conceive of what other things might be possible for you, the universe might have in store for you. So it's a time of empowerment and also to explore possibilities and options. That's another gift coming through for you in the next 3 months. The eclipses are also a time of shadow being revealed, so it makes sense. It makes sense that these potentially subconscious or unconscious beliefs about yourself coming to light and allowing you to be liberated from them is such a huge gift at this time of eclipse season. And the empowerment can only ever come from shining light on the shadow, facing the shadow instead of turning away from it, turning towards the shadow, turning away from bypassing and denial. Because we can only ever access power if we're willing to accept reality. And that comes back to that sort of groundwork that we laid at the beginning about there are things you can't change. And it's tempting to just focus on those and feel trapped by them. But what if you aren't trapped by them by virtue of all the other things that you actually can change? Okay, so the empowerment card in the guidebook. If you have drawn this card upright, you are coming into your true power. This power is not the power over other people. This is the coming into the power of your individual gifts, and their individual expression in this life. You are transforming the powerlessness within you. If you have previously suffered, you are now turning lemons into lemonade, and the whole universe knows about it. Claim your authority over your life, over your own life, and be who you came here to be. Oh my God, I'm getting shivers. I'm gonna put this right here for a moment in case you want to screenshot, because this paragraph right here is the message. I wanted to try to get that in the sunlight. Let's see, I'll bring it closer to the camera in case you want to screenshot that upright message as an empowerment affirmation for yourself, a reminder for yourself. Because this right here is the heart of this whole message, of this whole gift. This whole set of gifts is all coming from this. And I am just in awe, like this is giving me shivers because it's so deep and profound and powerful and true. This is about claiming your true sovereignty with the king and queen, claiming your true authority and seniority in your life. There's no one who's senior to you in the rule of your own life. You're not answering to anyone else. And that transformation, that transmutation, this is so powerful, that alchemy element here, like the magician in the tarot. Whatever has come your way or continues to come your way, you absolutely can and will transform that. As part of your power and authority, you have the ability to do that. And you can and you will. And so these obstacles that tried to crush you can actually become your gold. You can turn them into almost resources for yourself, with the king and queen being the king and queen of pentacles. What previously seemed like evidence of your undeservingness can actually be transmuted by your own will into evidence of and confirmation of deep self-worth, infinite worth, of your, it can turn into evidence of your power by your transmutation of it, by your willingness to face and accept it first of all. And facing and accepting it will automatically, one foot in front of the other, show you how you can transmute it and how you need to and are called to best transmute it. If you feel clueless, it does start with that awareness. If you feel confused, it starts with that shining light and love onto those parts of yourself that you may have previously turned away from and shunned and seen as unworthy. That pain does not make you unworthy. Having suffered does not make you unworthy. I'm really grateful for how deep this reading is going. And I'm being drawn to pull more of the Unfolding Path Tarot. The Empress. What was I saying with the threes? Empress energy. Yes, there's so much possibility within you. The Empress is pregnant with possibility. There's the fertility energy in the Empress and the Pentacles. There's so much possibility within you. And this denial and shame and the denial of your own power, the sort of self-abnegation has been diminishing your perception of your own power, but it has not actually diminished your power. It's diminished your access to it. And all those possibilities that will lead to tangible fruits are within you, ready to be birthed. It's simply a matter of burning away those obstacles and turning towards what they have been hiding from you. There's just, I can like taste it with the Empress. I can taste how there's so much on the other side of this. And it feels like a leap of faith. It feels like there's almost like this trench or chasm of fear that this group is being called to leap over. And it's like I'm getting this image of this outlaw or adventurer, someone like dressed in rags who is running for freedom, liberating themselves, leaping over this chasm, even though they truly have no, like in their heart of hearts, they're terrified about not knowing what's on the other side and not being completely sure that they'll make it over to the other side in the first place. But they take the leap of faith and they leap over and they land at these abundant fields of fruits and flowers and crops that have everything they need. That's what I'm seeing for this group. It's such a beautiful metaphor for like facing this chasm within you and it becoming actually the pathway into your wildest dreams, into getting your needs met. It's like uncovering your needs is of course the first step to meeting your needs. Recognizing that you actually have the power to meet them as well, instead of consigning yourself to the belief that because of the things that have limited you, you don't have the power to meet them. You do. And it's even in the name of this deck, the Unfolding Path. Facing that chasm and being brave enough to confront it, whether it's by diving into your shadows or by leaping over the wall, the chasm. It's, again, takes the power out of the darkness. It takes the sting out of the shadow. It takes the charge out of it so that you're no longer scared of your own self, your own subconscious, your own past, your own wounds, your own self-concept, no longer scared of what does it mean about me that these things happened to me and that I initially reacted to them in this way. Facing it and leaping over it to the other side, there's so much in bloom or about to bloom in wait for you on the other side. And that radiance is within you. Like, these are that field of flowers and fruits, all that is waiting for you and about to bloom on the other side. That is the radiance within you. Those are the gifts within you. It's almost like the real gifts were inside you all along. It's almost that energy of like, the gift here is the willingness to accept that who you are is a gift, instead of looking to others like, what they have is so much better than me. They are so much better than me. And I guess because I'm not like them, I'll just never be good enough, and I'll just always be trapped, and I'll never be able to have what I truly desire. No. And actually feeling those feelings of that they may feel ugly, those ugly trapped feelings, the pain and suffering of those limitations, feeling that feelings is what's going to turn the key to unlock all that abundance and radiance within you and your access to it, because it's always been there. But that overwhelming, I'm feeling it moving through me, and perhaps this will function as an energy healing for the collective, as my spirit and spirit guides. No, I'm being told to say just my spirit, as my spirit helps me move this flood of fear energy through me. Maybe this will serve as an energy healing for this group. Please feel free to let me know if you feel it, because I'm feeling it so strongly. It's like this tidal wave of the fear that has been oppressing you, that has led you to believe that it's too big for you to overcome and there's no point and it's hopeless. That fear just being uncorked and flooding through. It's facing the feelings and facing that chasm in the darkness that uncorks it and allows that fear to actually pass through and be temporary. And that does require feeling it on the way through and on the way out. And that can be very scary because it does feel overwhelming. In the moment, you cannot necessarily feel the guarantee that it will pass. And you simply have to remember in the back of your mind that all is temporary in this universe, and in specific, all emotions and feelings are temporary. And putting yourself in a safe space to simply be overcome by it will allow the tidal wave to be uncorked and, yes, temporarily overwhelm you, but then perhaps be cried out or breathed through and then pass. Maybe moved through, maybe physical movement will help you allow it to be uncorked, or maybe speaking to a counselor will allow it to be uncorked for you. And as you feel it and let it reverberate through your heart, then it passes and it becomes a thing of the past, and you're no longer subject to it and subject to its reign. It's vicious reign I'm hearing. I love the vivid language that's been coming through with this reading. And I'm feeling that tidal wave that I was feeling, that flood that was coming through me, pass now. Seven of Swords. Yes, this has been a thief of your power. Where should I put this? Yeah, I'll put this right over here next to the Eight of Swords. This has been a thief of your power, your peace, your rest. Yeah, there we go. Now the King and Queen are bracketing. And we have the Queen and the Empress side by side, as they should be. I'm sorry about I wonder if I can fix that, actually. Because these bars of light are kind of obstructing the visibility on this. but I'm not sure I can actually. You can hear how squeaky those blinds that are creating those bars are, so I'm not able to completely move them out of the way. I'll have to try to take that into consideration next time I do a reading and see if I can create a better lighting setup by getting those blinds out of the way. But hopefully the visibility is good enough, and I know I've been talking for quite a long time, so you've certainly had opportunity to zoom in and see the different cards. Yeah, it's sometimes as simple as lifting the shades. Letting the light in is sometimes as simple as raising the shade. Getting out of bed and raising the shade. But yeah, the Seven of Swords, what I'm getting from that is quite simple. It's reflecting how these fears and memories and the power that you've given other people over you has been a thief of your joy, your power, and your peace. And taking it back is the greatest gift that you can ever give yourself. And that guidebook from the Frequency Tarot said, the entire universe knows about it. The entire universe is on your side. This is coming through in a collective reading because many people are going through this. I have been going through this recently. And the entire universe knowing about this and being on your side, there's so much support behind you energetically from spirit guides, from your higher self, from the currents of the energy that moves through the universe. Just like the currents in the ocean, they're helping you turn in the directions that you need to turn. Let them move you, let them guide you, let them push you, and let them help you uncork the flood of the waves that have been held back and therefore have been holding you back, and let them help uncork your power, uncage your power. That starburst that we talked about, spreading out fiercely and flooding where fear has been flooding and darkness have been flooding before. By facing the darkness and allowing it to be uncorked and move through, suddenly all that open space is available for the light to flood instead. For love to flood, where maybe some disdain for self or self-hatred has been. You don't owe this thief anything. You're not at their mercy anymore. In some cases, you never were. There are different situations in everyone's life, and most people have had many situations that they've gone through that have been very difficult and involved a lot of suffering. So in some of those situations, you really were very much victimized, and those feelings and events are completely valid. And there are other situations where you never were at the mercy of the things that stole your joy, your belief in yourself. And now it's time to take it back. Okay. I'm being guided to this deck right here, the Foxfire deck. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Let's get shuffling. Okay, that came through quickly. Sunlight after darkness. Oh my gosh. How perfect is that, y'all? How perfect is that? Sunlight after darkness. And this fox has their eyes closed and is fanning themselves peacefully and is holding their heart. I'm getting this image of you cradling your heart to breathe into it, breathe healing and rest and nourishment and peace into your heart. Almost like going, it's okay, it's okay. We made it through that. You can be at peace now, you can be at rest now, it's okay. You don't have to be afraid anymore. I just looked at the 11 number on that card as well. As I was saying, you don't have to be afraid anymore. So that is a message directly from Spirit. You don't have to be afraid anymore. There is sunlight after darkness. You are at the dawn now. I'm going to hold this up to the camera for part of this so you can screenshot if you'd like. After a time of challenges and hurt, there comes a time when the sweet joys of life gently begin to return. They will steal into your life so quietly that for many, the signs of this beautiful change will go unnoticed. But with the turn of this card, you now know that the time of new light will be awakening in and around you now. If you tune in, you will begin to see the signs that there is a sweetness returning, that a smile or two fleets across your lips, and that you awaken more easily and greet the day with a sense that today will be a kinder, better place than yesterday. You'll notice others responding to you warmly, and slowly, oh so slowly, you begin to believe that perhaps there's a way forward and that you will find happiness once again. This is giving me sort of the other side of the coin of the Seven of Swords, being the sweet joys of life stealing back into your life so quietly that for many they will go unnoticed. And so this is a calling, again, to turn your attention towards those sweet joys, those beautiful changes, those signs, the new dawn, the new way forward towards the hope and away from the thieves of the past. It's the other side of the coin here of the, what am I turning away from and towards? Let me not be someone who is robbing myself. Let me not be a thief of my own joy by letting it go unnoticed. Let me not be a thief of my own power by not noticing all the choices and possibilities available to me on a daily basis. No matter how small and minute and inconsequential they may seem, it still matters if you do something that brings you that tiny joy, just as it matters whether you neglect something larger. And the guidebook continues, it is too soon to speak of being exuberant or enthusiastic, but this tender, very fragile new time will grow when you tend to it, when you encourage it, and when you begin to notice that you are at last healing from the wounds life has dealt you. There will be no going back into the darkness. This is not temporary. You can trust this, and with your trust it will gather strength and begin to take root. This sunlight time will grow brighter and become stronger as you feed it with your belief and gratitude. So do this, friend, and know that what was will never be again. For now you are in the time of new light. I genuinely almost can't believe how perfect this message is. And it's so clear about how this is such a gorgeous set of gifts for the next 3 months. This is definitely a passage I will want to come back to. This gentleness of it's okay if it's too soon for you to feel, exuberant and enthusiastic. It's okay if your passions still feel a little bit dim, your ability to get excited still feels a little bit singed. Like the fuse just doesn't completely light yet. That's okay. Treat yourself with tenderness. Tend to yourself, as this is guiding you to. Feed yourself. Prepare for the crops to be planted. Water the crops. Be so gentle with yourself. We have the Four of Swords there again, calling for you to be so gentle with yourself and allow yourself to rest. It's okay. You deserve it. You don't need to earn rest. Rest really has nothing to do with deserving. It's simply a fact of life, a need of all beings. And so is that tenderness. So is that love. Allow yourself to be loved so that this new strength can take root. Thank you so much for being here today, Pile 1. This message has been so absolutely gorgeous and so deep and powerful and healing, and I hope that you are feeling this healing yourself. I'm so grateful to be part of this journey with you and for you. And I'm so grateful to get so much confirmation of the collective being in this position of uncovering our power and reclaiming our sovereignty in our lives and experiencing healing and sunlight and nourishment after times of darkness and starvation and wounding. Expansion after times of confinement. So thank you so much for being here for this. Feel free to comment and let me know how this has resonated. Check out my resources in the description or in my bio, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the next reading. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your reading. Today we're looking into and asking your spirit guides and higher selves from this collective for messages related to the full moon total lunar eclipse that at this point in time we just had. When I started filming this pick a card, it hadn't happened yet. Related to the full moon lunar eclipse, and specifically What gifts are coming in for this group over the next 3 months? And I'm starting with the Unfolding Path Tarot. That's what that deck looks like. One more card, Spirit. One more card. What gifts are coming in for this group over the next 3 months? Okay, so we have, wow, the Emperor and the Six of Wands, victory. And the Seven of Swords, victory over something that is trying to drain you, steal from your energy, or I just heard intellectual property, so maybe steal your ideas or thoughts. Potentially something that might be trying to influence your thoughts, sneak into your thoughts and mind, maybe trying to create obsession. That's certainly a tactic of manipulation that a lot of people can use, is to do things to kind of leave loose ends open and cause someone to have a hard time not thinking about them. And that's a control tactic that people can use. So that is something that discernment will give you victory over for sure. So pretty clear picture being painted there. Where are you calling me to draw more from to get clarification? The tea leaves. Okay. So the tea leaf oracle is coming next. Yeah, victory over something. I'm hearing close call. So I'm also getting, though, that you're quite tapped into your spirit and intuition most of the time. That's what I'm getting for this group. You're quite tapped into your spirit and your intuition. I'm hearing you've been strengthening your connection with your higher self, so that might be relatively new for you, or it might be that you've cultivated your intuition for a long time, but you've been having just either a more difficult time lately, or just a more 3D time where you haven't been as focused on connecting to spirit. So you're coming back into your own in that regard, and because of that timing, it may seem, I'm hearing it will seem like a close call when you narrowly evade the harm that this person or energy may have intended for you, but that it won't actually be as close of a call as it seems in the moment. With hindsight, it will become clear to you, they were never going to pull one over on me. They were never going to get away with this. It just seemed like a very close call because I wasn't as in touch with my intuitive gut instinct, spiritual third eye discernment. Yeah, opening your third eye is something you're being called to. And I'm being told that the people in this group will have practices already that they use for that. So meditations that you are familiar with. There's something about coming back to what is familiar and well practiced for you, something that you have a lot of skill at and mastery at with the Emperor. And that being sort of your secret weapon and your shield against that which would potentially not have your best interests at heart. You have door opportunities are waiting for you. I'm being called to put that under the Emperor. What else? More from the tea leaves, please, Spirit. What gifts are coming in the next 3 months for this group? What else do they need to know about the gift of victory over this person or energy that does not have their best interests at heart? Crib, birth or conception of a child or enterprise. Some of you might be trying to conceive, and in that case, yes, some of you are literally trying to conceive, and some of you are trying to get a new creative pursuit off the ground, whether in business or in a hobby or just something that is very meaningful to you that you are trying to bring into the world. Very meaningful to you, very dear to your heart. If you're wondering what it is, that is what will tell you. This is something that is as meaningful to you. If it's not conception of a child, it's as meaningful to you as that would be to someone who dearly, dearly wants to conceive. And there may be an individual or just an energy that is just standing in the way of that. And that, yeah, I'm getting the image of the door being blockaded, but you figuring out at the end of the day very easily how to remove that blockade, and with the wheels here, roll right through that door. It's like that door has plenty of space for you and any other trusted individuals that you are bringing with you on this journey to come through. And there's a plentiful wind at your backs. But there's this blockade standing in the way, like someone has tried to bar the door, but once this is all over, you're gonna be like, that was a flimsy attempt. Like, they should have known better than to think that something as, at the end of the day, small as that would be able to stand in the way of someone as powerful as me, someone as discerning as me. But in the moment, it might seem like a pretty heavy blockade. Again, I think that's where that image of you bringing trusted individuals through the door with you, or them being carried on the currents of energy and spirit through the door with you, that plentiful wind of abundance behind you is what I'm getting, carrying you to where you need to go. Winds of change, yes, but definitely winds of abundance is what I'm getting from that image. And those trusted individuals, it's like together, that blockade is nothing to lift. That it's like when you're moving a couch, when you move house, you know, it's so heavy. If it's one person, you wouldn't be able to move it, but with 3 people, it's like nothing. I'm getting that image from Friends of the pivot scene, pivot. So there may have been, when you get to this moment where you see the blockade at the door, you may be sort of like barreling towards the door, and you kind of have to be like, wait, pivot, put on the brakes. And we need to adjust our plan ever so slightly, and it might seem like a big bump in the road at the moment, but like I said, it's really ever so slightly. It's just a quick pause it's not a true derailment, it's just a quick pause to lift this obstacle out of the way. And I'm getting actually will be in your favor at the end of the day, because pausing to do this, to remove this obstacle, will show you something that you might have missed if you'd been rushing right by that moment. Maybe something about the door, about the opportunity, something that will allow you to kind of walk back through it again later. Some wisdom or insight about the opportunity and the new path that you're embarking on that will help you down the road further along that path. Ring, a marriage will take place, either romantic or business. Some of you are definitely in the business of trying to conceive and or looking for the future parent of your children, the future co-parent or co-parents of your children. And there might be, I'm not completely clear yet on what this energy is that might sort of try to get in the way, or might briefly get in the way, that might currently be hampering you from meeting your future spouse, or from trying to conceive with your current partner, or maybe creating a fear of commitment to this future you have together on one or both of your behalves. But it feels small is the thing. There's this energy from spirit of like, it's not important what that energy is. What's important is this, the path ahead of you, the commitment, the victory, and the partnership, the love, the union. It's what you're fighting for that's important, and not what you're fighting against. And it's who you're fighting with, not who you're fighting against. That is important. So make sure that those you truly want to embark on this path with, and yourself, cultivate a feeling of being on the same team rather than fighting against each other if there are misunderstandings or miscommunications or disagreements that need to be worked out, or boundaries or logistics about, okay, we both want the same thing, but maybe we have different ideas about how to get there. You know, maybe one of you, for example, wants to have kids in 3 years, and one of you wants to start trying to conceive now, or it's very important to one of you to get married before trying to conceive, and the other of you maybe isn't as concerned about that. Whatever, these are just examples, and this could still apply to a creative pursuit where you want to find an editor for your book, or collaborate to write or perform music with someone, or consult with someone on your new business venture, get an investor for a startup, whatever it is. There's a strong portion of this group where this is about literal marriage and literal conception and birth. We would not have these two cards together otherwise. But there is also, within this collective, certainly the potential for other creations, other types of birth. It does say or enterprise or business on these cards. And we do have the Emperor, who is kind of the captain of the ship in business. I'm getting this message about the Emperor and the door. I was guided very strongly to put the door under the Emperor. And it's kind of like, for some of you, the quote-unquote threat or danger, like I said, it's not as important as who you're fighting with and what you're fighting for, who is on your team and what you stand for. But for some of you, this sort of last obstacle standing in the way of this door is that either a part of you or a part of your partner, whether it's romantic or business, or perhaps parts of both of you, believe they are guarding the door, protecting this new path and this new opportunity. But the way that they've been, these parts of you or them or both, have been conditioned to protect and guard are actually standing in the way and actually need to be transmuted, released and transmuted and integrated as a new way of pursuing and going after and protecting this dream. And that's the realization that is so inevitable here, and that will ultimately lead to your victory. That's part of, yes, for many of you, that's exactly what Spirit was referring to when it said, by pausing here and having to take care of this obstacle here, you will gain wisdom and insight that will benefit you further along down this path. If this way of interacting with this dream, attempting to protect this dream, were not changed now, it would ultimately sabotage you further on down the line. And that's why it's so important. That's why it's blocking the door now, because your own spirit, your own discernment intuitively on a higher self and spirit and heart level will not allow you to pass through that door unless this potential self-saboteur in one or both of you is caretaken first, because they do need, these protector parts of ourselves have something they are very legitimately scared of. So it needs caretaking so that you can work together with this aspect of you. And again, this is also clarification of that message about it's very important that you and whoever you're working with on this path or this creation truly cultivate the feeling of being allies and on the same team and not working against each other or fighting against each other to get what you want. The same goes for the different parts within yourself. So you and the other person involved need to work together and work together with the parts of you that may be presenting as obstacles or as difficult or as manipulative right now, to transmute, to find a way that works for the protector parts of the self and for the other parts of yourself, the rest of you, that works for the dream as well as the part of you that is so scared about what that dream could lead to. There's some kind of downfall that the protector part or parts are scared of coming about as a result of chasing this dream. And if that fear is not addressed up front, face to face, it will sabotage you from the shadows with the Seven of Swords. That's how the unconscious works. These suppressed parts of ourselves try so hard to protect us from their fears, from our fears that are held by those parts of ourselves. They even will cause great harm to themselves for the sake of trying to prevent that thing they fear from befalling you as a whole. And so those parts of you need to be caretaken. And same with any business or romantic partner, those parts of them need to be caretaken in order to allow you both to walk through this door hand in hand with each other and with those inner children that may have presented as these ferocious, demons even within or against you, but really are truly sweet children that would do anything, would die to protect you, and simply don't know a better way to go about it. It's time to, do that journaling, do that meditation, go to those therapy sessions, have those heart-to-hearts with each other that allow you to see deeply. With the water here, it almost looks like this mermaid is scrying in the discernment card. Allow you to see deeply and penetratingly into yourself and into each other if need be, depending on the relationship you have with your partner in this circumstance. Or if this is partly about manifesting a partner, it may not be about them at all, but just about seeing into yourself, and they may be going through a mirrored journey at the same time. And as you both reach completion, it will allow you to meet and come together. That message may only be for a select few of you. Others of you are probably already working with a business or romantic partner on a new manifestation, a new enterprise. But yes, caretaking, having those conversations and doing those practices spiritually or mentally, breath work, that allow you to see deeply into yourself, these parts of yourself, and each other if need be, to understand. The goal here is to understand, because from understanding, the best course of action that takes into account the best interests of all parts of yourself and all people involved will very naturally unfold. The goal here is to understand, rather than to try to fix or try to get them on board with the plan of action you already have. Rather than treating these parts of you or of them as a problem to be solved, they're a hurt inner child or a hurt inner part of yourself, whether it's a teen or a young adult or a child. For most of you, it is a child. I'm getting that image very clearly because I had that image of walking through the door hand in hand with each other and with your inner children. So for most of you, it is inner children. Instead of seeing them as enemies, seeing them as really powerful allies. There's so much energy within these parts of you that will become a resource for all of you once it's unlocked, but you can't be going after those parts of you, treating them like they're a resource that you're just desperate to unlock and seeing them as a thing. They're people, they're a part of you. This is you, this is younger you, this is a beautiful, beloved, wounded, hurting child that deserves and needs to be healed and taken care of, and to not have so much responsibility on their shoulders, because they see it as their responsibility to protect all of you from this fear that they are so terrified of, because they know you don't see the fear the same way they do. And so that's why it feels like it falls to them. It's like, I see this imminent danger, but this greater, adult version of myself doesn't see it. So it's up to me. It's up to me to protect all of us, all of the parts of me, from this danger. And I'll do whatever it takes to get my adult self's attention and force them not to go near that danger. So that can look like self-sabotage in a million different ways. But if you slow down and take the time to understand the reasons for the behavior that appears self-sabotaging, I promise you it will no longer be able to be framed in your mind as self-sabotage, because you will see how pure the intention of that protector part of you has been. And that is what will cause the shift from it seeming like this heavy, clunky, like enormous sofa in front of the door, to something that you and the other parts of you or of the people involved can lift very easily together and set aside, because you'll have a new way a new integration within yourself and potentially within the partnership forged, uniting all of you to be able to work together, so it's not a tug of war against, no, one part of me needs this obstacle to be here and one part of me needs it to be out of the way, and so we're at an impasse and we'll never be able to move in either direction because each of us is pulling with equal strength in those two directions. It'll shift from that to, okay, you're building trust between the parts of yourself by working with that protector part of yourself to understand them and go, okay, this is what you're trying to protect me from. Have you considered maybe protecting ourselves from that in X, Y, and Z way instead of A, B, and C way? I think maybe that would actually work better. What do you think? And together you can then put that table, that couch, that obstacle down and build a shield together, build a sword together, build whatever it's going to take to forge your path ahead in a way that feels much more safe and much more genuinely protected to both of you, much more genuinely shielded and held and caretaken to all of you. And with that, you'll be able to walk so freely, almost fly, like I was talking about, carried on the winds, almost just fly through that door. It's like it will fly open and you'll grow wings and fly through. Really incredible energy. And I truly hope this is making sense. Another tea leaf here. Tent, temporary situation. Yes, the sense of there being an obstacle is a temporary situation. And this way of working with yourself may be something that you're already familiar with and that you've just been distracted from for a while. And that might be that energy we were talking about before, about you being called to this reading to bring your attention to that sense of discernment, to return to a practice that you have some mastery of from the past that heightens your intuition and heightens your awareness, sharpens your sight so that you can see so deeply into things. Because I keep on getting that image of seeing so deeply, like the scrying, like seeing through clear waters of the sea effortlessly. So there's something about, you've done this before, building bridges between different parts of yourself, building trust, gaining trust from different parts of yourself that were at war with each other before. And maybe you've never done it with a business or romantic partner before, and that's where it can sneak up on you. Or maybe you've just been a little distracted with the external relationships, the work of setting a foundation in business, the work of starting to try to conceive if there are obstacles medically to doing so. Whatever it is that you've potentially been distracted by, or being called back into yourself here to be able to see deeply into and work deeply with yourself once again. There's something about this is not new to you. There's just been a temporary distraction from it, from that way of being with yourself, working on the same team as all the different parts of yourself, and seeing the potential for alliance in these internal so-called enemies, seeing that deep down they're not enemies, they're just hurting. And it's an immense superpower of yours, is what I'm being told. So that's where this strength and solidity and mastery of the Emperor comes in. It's an immense superpower of yours. You have no problem doing that, but it may feel very difficult because of the emotional charge to it, and perhaps because you've been away from that particular table for a while. Yeah, with the flap on the tent being closed in the sky and the moon being outside, it's like that being blocked off from being able to see your surroundings is a temporary situation. You're emerging from the tent now. There's such a strong energy of all of this that I have already felt from this full moon total eclipse. So I'm not shocked this is coming through in a reading, but I am amazed by how beautifully the cards are representing this. Bat, take care, enemies are working against you. Yes, that's the sense of internal enemies working against you, that you are now being invited to transmute into working with each other, hitting the pause button and going, wait, why are you doing this thing that I'm perceiving as against me, other person in the relationship or other part of myself? Let's get to the bottom of this so that we can work together instead of against each other. For some of you, this energy is manifesting as someone or something outside of yourself trying to undermine you or your plans in some way, trying to make you look like less of an expert, less of an emperor than you are, trying to prevent your victory. But again, it's like you are so, with this, getting all the parts of yourself and of your partner or partners in this endeavor on board together, you become so powerful that any external forces are really so weak in comparison. So it's not that there might not be external enemies, but there's very little focus that needs to be put on them. It's like kind of swatting a fly out of the way. Yes, of course, if you notice the fly, if you notice the mosquito trying to suck your blood, swat it out of the way. But don't become paranoid looking for mosquitoes everywhere. Some of the bugs are fine and not bothering you, right? It's and it's funny that that's the metaphor coming through when the bat eats bugs like mosquitoes. So it's like you are naturally the predator of these so-called enemies. It's going to turn, this energy that appears to be working against you is going to turn into your fuel. It's going to turn into another resource for you, as long as you get it on your side from a really true, pure-hearted place of, I want to understand you. This part of me, I know is not intentionally working against me, so what is it trying to accomplish truly? And of course, if there are external forces that are people you don't trust, people you don't work with, you don't need to try to make excuses and justifications for their behavior and waste your energy, drain your energy trying to get underneath it and get them on your side. This is about the parts of yourself that are trying to protect you and about the people that are actually involved in your partnerships. Ear, good news. And this is also speaking to the discernment. Listen to yourself, listen to each other within this relationship, partnership, set of relationships, set of partnerships. Listen. Listening is more important than speaking. Listen to understand and not just to prepare what you have to say next. Listen not to argue, but to find your common ground, to really get what's going on here. Allow these things that you maybe don't like about your current situation to be exactly what they are. And from there, they will reveal to you the next step in the transmutation to become allies, to become forces to be reckoned with. Mice, discord among friends or family. Yes, some of you are working together with very close, trusted people, but there's currently just some discord there. And I'm hearing it's through no fault of your own. It's through no fault of anybody in the situation necessarily. But it just simply is calling to be resolved. It's like you can hear the mice in the wall with the ear and the mice coming out together. You can hear it, and it's time to stop ignoring it. It's like maybe you've been trying to steamroll that discord that you perceived was brewing and just ignore it and think, if I ignore it, it'll go away, it'll resolve itself. Or maybe the person you've been working with has been trying to deflect your attention from it because they're not comfortable going into it. And it's time to stop ignoring, the quote-unquote rats in the walls. Listen and follow what you hear and seek to understand and seek to bring understanding between all parties involved and to create resolution from that understanding instead of forcing. And the theme of this message was gifts for the next few months. So this victory is not to be underestimated or taken lightly. The gifts that this will bring you down the path, again, that part about that sabotage, if not transmuted now, would significantly derail you farther down the path. And by transmuting it now, you actually are creating a very obstacle-free path beyond that door. This will be a gift that keeps on unrolling and unfolding. Okay. What else, Spirit? Do we want to draw more cards? this message is feeling pretty complete. Anything else, Spirit? Anything else about the energy to watch out for, about the victory unfolding ahead? Anything else? No, they're kind of telling me that's it. It took me a moment to accept that. But thank you so much for tuning in, Pile 2. That is what I have for you today. And the next few months do have some really rich victories and milestones and opportunities and gifts ahead for you. So I'm so excited for you to reach these next milestones on your journey. Thank you so much for being here, and I truly hope this message has helped. Hello, Group 3, Pile 3, and welcome to your reading. This is your reading if you chose the Dreaming card from the Messages from the Mermaid's deck. And right away, I'm getting this feeling of a dream that feels to you, to the viewer, what I'm getting is like it's too holy to touch. If holy doesn't resonate, it could be too pure to touch, like you're worried about ruining a dream that you have or an idea that you have by trying to make it real. So fear of failure is part of it. Shame and feeling of not being good enough is part of it. Also a feeling like something might be too good to be true or to come true. So it would be naive and foolish, that type of shame. It would be naive and foolish to believe that it could even be possible. And so it's therefore better to not even try. And the energy, the message from Spirit is very much, not only is this not too good to be true, not too pure for you to touch, you wouldn't sully it with your touch, is something I just heard. But you are actually more than enough. You are the exact right person that the universe wants to fill this role, is what I'm getting from Spirit. You are exactly the person that they've called on and recruited, that the universe has chosen even for bringing through this message, bringing through this energy, bringing through this idea, making this dream into reality. Like this dream has come to you, this dream chose you, and it's done so for a reason. I'm shuffling the Messages from the Mermaid's deck. There's what that deck looks like, because I'm being drawn to actually pull more messages from this deck for this group. And then on top of that, not only are you more than enough, but what I'm getting, I'm being drawn to looking at the shell in this mermaid's hand, and what I'm getting is it's actually at your fingertips. It's so much closer than you realize. And it doesn't mean, oh yes, you have to seize it now, like you have to act fast and urgently. And what I'm being shown is actually more, if this mermaid picked up this shell and started cradling it very gently and softly in their hands and looking at it very closely and observing all the details and imagining all the things they could do with the shell, imagining the things they could fill it with, imagining the other shells they could combine it with, imagining the other people they could show it to, and how do they want to put it on exhibit at a museum, on display? Do they want to create things with it to sell? Do they want to create things like it to sell? Do they want to use it to create completely other unrelated things to sell? It's like taking what you have. Okay, so first step, recognizing what you already have in your hands that is part of, or even in fact the whole dream, and then really taking some time to very gently, tenderly feels a little bit off, but it is in the right vein, very gently and just slowly, slow and steady, in a grounded, secure manner, explore, what can I do with this? I've been in denial that I even have this dream, because I was so worried that if I really let it sink in that I have this, that the floor would fall out from underneath me, or the other shoe would drop, or I would ruin it or sully it in some way. So let's actually feel what it's like to have this in my hands. Let's feel what it's like to be in this ocean. How does the hair feel in the water? How does the water feel on my back and my shoulder blades? What do the ridges of this shell feel like in my hands? Let's actually feel all this And then let's let more dreams unfold and unfurl from there. I hope this is making sense. The theme for this reading is gifts coming in the next 3 months. And with the seed for that, the launch pad for that being the total lunar eclipse that we just went through. And clearly the gifts that are coming in the next 3 months for this group have to do with a dream that you have already attained or gotten much farther in the pursuit of than you have kind of let yourself realize, and how you can build on that milestone that you've already reached. We have decisions. Wow, this card is so detailed and intricate. I love this. This is gorgeous. There's so much abundance in this card. It's like this mermaid feels like they're in the Garden of Eden to me. Like this is that energy of realizing the abundance that already surrounds you, realizing what you already have instead of trying to flinch away from it like, oh, but it'll wither if I touch it. You know, that's not true. It's not true. There's some old beliefs and conditioning that need to be challenged there. And part of the challenging, especially the energy of this lunar eclipse has really driven this type of energy. Part of the energy is hard, it's challenging, it's diving deep into the shadows, but this reading with this dreaming exploration is really bringing to light the gift that is part of the challenging those old beliefs is actually the really gently and softly exploring and letting yourself touch your new reality, letting yourself touch the thing that you've created or dreamed into being, and finding out for yourself that it doesn't collapse or wither or die when you actually touch it, when you actually stand on it, when you actually hold it, when you actually use it. It's like that energy of never using the good china because you don't want to risk ever possibly chipping it and waiting for a special occasion. It's like that's kind of become a meme in some circles. It was many months ago really, but it's probably still circulating in some areas of the internet, that concept of don't wait for a special occasion to use the good stuff, burn the good candles, you know, use the lotion that you like, use the good china, you know, whatever that is. It's very similar to that, except in this case specific to this dream that you've created. And for some people watching, that dream you've created may have to do with, you know, security and actually having nice things like good candles and good china. For a lot of you, this feels like a very creative pursuit type of thing though. So definitely take it as it resonates. There are so many infinite ways this could apply, but it does feel a little bit singular and very creative, this dream that you have. It's like, and I just heard sitting on a gold mine, so it's like you're waiting to be perfect at something to share that gift or skill with the world when you've already practiced it more than enough that people would love what you have to share. Whether that's, you know, spiritual gifts or creative gifts like drawing or singing or dancing or playing the guitar, you know, you have so much to share here. And there's an element of like basking and luxuriating that is like, wait a second. Yes, do the hard stuff of digging into the shame and digging up the roots of it and learning about yourself in that way. Also, really deliberately create space for this soft aspect of it. Maybe ask for guidance on it, because this might feel really strange and unnatural, like foreign and unfamiliar to you. So maybe ask for guidance from your own spirit guides in your own meditation about, show me what I can do today. Like set that intention at the beginning of each day or at the beginning of an afternoon off or an evening free that you have. Show me what I can do today or with these 2 hours that will help me cultivate this softness towards myself, and show me like, hey, I can touch the life I've created. I can handle the dream that I've manifested without breaking it. I hope this is making sense. Decisions also, I think that word is gonna get clarified by more cards as we pull them. decisions, dreaming. What else, Spirit? Okay, I'm being drawn to the Light Seers Tarot to shuffle and bring through more messages. What gifts are this group lining up with over the next 3 months? What gifts are coming in for this group over the next 3 months? What energies does this full moon, total lunar eclipse, have unfolding for this group? What else do we need to know about decisions and dreaming? Okay, we have one card here, the Fool. The Fool speaks to that purity, that like, will I corrupt this? It speaks to that innocence, and recognizing that innocence within yourself and going, wait a second. The only reason I feel like I might corrupt or taint something by touching it because it's so pure is because I have always had this innocence and this purity within me, as part of my core. And I have experienced things happening to me, people doing things that made me feel like that innocence or purity was ruined in some way. But that means that I still have that innocence and purity within me. The fact that I'm able to feel that other people's actions affected it means I still have that purity within me. And what if interacting with this thing that seems too idealistic, too naive or childlike, what if interacting with this dream actually brought that innocence to the surface in me and showed me how I can live into it more fully and protect it better, so that instead of being sort of caged away and cramped away and living this half life, that energy could actually be expressed through me and touch other people too, who might need to know that they're not the only ones who still harbor this innocence. This also speaks to a new beginning in a creative pursuit, using the dream that you've already achieved as a launch pad. It's like you've reached the World card, the end of the major arcana, and you are starting anew. It also speaks to the feeling of giving yourself a fresh start and a rebirth, even though you've been made to feel like your innocence was completely lost and like you could never get it back. Is that realization of, wait a second, it's been there all along. It's just been wounded. And I actually have the power to make, this is the decision. I have the power to make the choice to heal the wounds to those inner child parts of me, heal the wounds to the innocence so that I can feel whole, instead of feeling like my innocence is lost and trying to recover it would be futile and just lead inevitably to failure. I can actually heal those wounds. Like, I have that power. And there are other people out there who, this goes back to that, this is a calling for you. Like, you have been in some way chosen to do this. There are other people out there who badly need to see your example. Now, those people don't need to be your focus. For some people listening to this, that's going to be exactly the wake-up call you need. That, like, wait a second. There are other people who who feel now like I did when I was 8 years old, and me re-owning this thing that I'm scared to do, or scared to be, or exhibit, or show to the world, can actually help them the way that I so badly wish I was helped then. Well, what am I waiting for? My personal sort of fears seem so trivial. The insecurities seem so small and trivial in the scheme of that big picture. Some of you, that's going to be exactly the wake-up call that you need, of like, wait a second, these little like things of being laughed at by one person, or it taking a while to find the right people, or there being some stumbling blocks along the way to writing or creating that piece I want to, or starting that business. Those little stumbling blocks seem so fleeting and trivial in the big scope of how we can help each other. And then for others of you, that might feel like pressure that you might shrink away from, and it's like, okay, wait a second, I need to focus on myself and soothing my nervous system before I can think that far ahead. But I'm really getting a big energy from this group of like, back to the garden, it's like there's not just one plant in a garden. If you focus on the root rot that one plant has, you might think, oh my gosh, everything's gone to ruin. But actually, if you zoom out, you might then discover, actually, this is just one limb of a much, much bigger plant. And I can prune this and uproot this and protect the rest of the plant from that corruption that it experienced. And it will regrow and bloom. And this is a metaphor for you. I stumbled right into that. Spirit started channeling that through me, and I had no idea that it was going to become a metaphor for you. Like that, you experienced things that corrupted or victimized you in some way that made you feel as if you were tainted. And healing the wound means clearing out the infection. And yes, there might be some things that you've identified with as part of you that will get pruned away. But you, at your core, are the plant that will regrow new roots, new branches, new blooms, new fruits. And you are very much being invited into that process with the Fool, and to own your agency in that with the Decisions card. You get to choose to heal where others chose to hurt, and that is no small thing. It requires a lot of bravery, and you wouldn't be, sorry, I just nudged the camera, you wouldn't be being called to this dream if you weren't capable of it. And some things are worth saying and worth doing, regardless of whether you can ever do them perfectly, because someone needs to hear them. Someone needs to see you do them. Yeah, that energy of like, there are other people who need what you are withholding. I was expecting when that first came in that to feel like pressure and like an energy I shouldn't dwell on too much, but just kind of put out there tentatively. But as soon as I started saying it, this group is really feeling like it really needs that energy, actually, of that sense of purpose and belonging in the world, having a place in the, how does Mary Oliver say it in Wild Geese, that poem? The geese over and over reminding you of your place in things. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the quote. If I remember to, I'll link the poem in the description box. But that poem is very famous. It's a short poem, and it starts with, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees through the desert. And I don't remember the rest of the words perfectly after that. Part of it, though, is you just have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And it refers to the wild geese honking overhead, announcing over and over again your place in the world in the scheme of things. So that's a paraphrase of it. And it's like being reminded that you actually are a puzzle piece that fits perfectly into this world and has a very, very important place where you are welcomed by the bigger picture of things. Whether you've seen that reflected by other humans yet or not, the universe very much is reflecting that to you and is gently asking you to step into that place and to let yourself relax into that place and fill it completely. Like, instead of trying to hold your puzzle piece edges in and not touch the neighboring pieces, actually let yourself fill that space completely. And I'm seeing from your puzzle piece gold seeping into the cracks of the puzzle and bringing pieces together, binding people together who might not have realized that they all needed that gold, that they all had this in common. Really cool channeled energies and images with this. So yeah, for this group, that reminder of other people need you actually feels like relief instead of pressure, which really caught me by surprise, but also makes so much sense, because that belonging is the antidote to shame. And we started off with this energy of, I'm not sure if I'm good enough for my own dream. And we were immediately told, not only are you good enough, you're more than good enough. You are the exact perfect puzzle piece fit for this dream. That's why you have it. And then not only that, but a piece of that dream is in your hands, or potentially everything. I keep on being told like that whole dream is actually in your hands. It's just that dream is now unlocking a pathway to actually living it and letting it unfold and into the whole galaxy created by it. I hope that's making sense, because my own words aren't completely making sense to my own ears. But it's like the dream is already in your hands. It's just that expressing it into your life, living the life of that dream, you haven't been letting yourself do yet. So I would bet that it's pretty new that this dream has been in your hands, something I just got told by Spirit, you have lived a hard life, which is something that deserves to be acknowledged as special and also as not rare, because that's part of why you're feeling and experiencing and hearing this calling to connect with others, because so many others have too. So you've been through a lot to get to this moment. Stop thinking that this dream is unearned. Stop thinking that this place in the puzzle, in the world, in the scheme of things is unearned. Stop thinking that your importance to the scheme of things, the flow of things, is unearned. You are a precious and important. I'm just hearing that Mary Oliver, a quote from a different poem, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? But in this case, it's like, in the context of you are a current within a greater ocean. So far, that has been used to make you feel small and like you don't matter, because there's so many other currents that it seems infinite. What's been withheld from you is the awareness that it's like dominoes. You move in one direction and it pushes, nudges, tugs hundreds of other currents that are in proximity to you. And how they respond to your nudge or your tug will then influence thousands of other currents beyond them. Your importance is not to be underestimated. Your capacity to light a spark that then catches fire in thousands of hearts and souls is not to be underestimated. You have real value. Yeah, there's a real undercurrent here of like, you've been diminishing what you have to say and what you have to offer. And you need to know that it has so much value that offering it imperfectly simply does not matter, simply is of no consequence. It's so incredibly important that you go forth and offer it imperfectly, because it needs to be offered and there's no such thing as perfection. So stop holding this idea, this black and white like conditioning that your offering will only be good enough, or rather you will only be good enough when you can offer your gift perfectly, offer your skill or whatever it is that you have to share, your message perfectly, and go forth and offer it because it's needed and the world can't wait. I really hope this is making as much sense and landing as well as Spirit is delivering it to me. Okay, more cards from the Light Seers Tarot. More cards from the Light Seers Tarot, please. We have the Queen of Cups. Look at that prayer. This image shows such divine connection. I'm hearing that song Head Above Water by Avril Lavigne. God, keep my head above water. Put yourself in God's hands, put yourself in the hands of Spirit, whatever higher power you work with and believe in and channel into your offerings, whether they're business offerings or creative offerings or person-to-person offerings. Whatever divine spark that you tap into to inspire and create your work in the world, whatever divine spark it is that you bring to your message, your offering that you have to share, your gift, give yourself over to that. Surrender to channeling it. Ask it how it needs to be channeled. That doesn't mean take your free will out of it. It's choosing to align yourself with it. So it's not that you're out of the driver's seat, it's that you're sharing the driver's seat. You're asking for your highest purest and best self to be in the driver's seat. And surrendering to that, surrendering your fears to that, surrendering the things that don't serve you and your highest and best good to that. And Queen of Cups is so much water, as you can tell, especially we have the water in the Fool and we have the Mermaid cards, letting all of that flow through you. Letting the divine crown you with that crown hovering over her head as she receives it. Let the divine show you how worthy you are. You are not just another fish in the sea. And no, that's not diminishing other people and saying, oh, well, they're just other fish in the sea and I am special. It's recognizing the facets of you that are so special. And that place of really soaking that in, basking in that, is the place in your heart from which you can actually see that, which is so special about each and every other fish in the sea as well. There's a strong energy in this pile, in this group, of having been conditioned throughout life to self-efface, to humble or lower yourself in the service of what was special about other people. And this is a crumbling of that paradigm. This is the gift of this eclipse in these next 3 months for you. A crumbling of that paradigm and a dissolution of it, dissolving it into the realizations and the recognitions over and over again that it's not either or. Owning what is so special about you and expressing it confidently and imperfectly into the world actually lights you up and feeds you and empowers you and roots you such that you can so easily perceive the overflow, give out the overflow of that, and also perceive the overflow of everyone else, what's so special about everyone else. And it's not either or. You get to really appreciate it about other people because it won't ignite this. You'll slowly feel it unravel how watching other people's specialness before, or maybe even right now, could potentially ignite this longing or yearning or emptiness or jealousy, this sense of, why does my gift not look like their gift? Recognizing how special your gift is will make it so that you can actually find so much joy in appreciating other people's too. It's like, wow, that's so cool that they can do that. I could never do anything like that. I can say that without the slightest bit of resentment because I also am able to be rooted in recognition of the things that I could do that they could never do. And those things might be things that some people, maybe even people in my family or people I grew up around, might diminish. There might be people who think that your gift, oh, so what, you can brew a perfect cup of coffee. Well, that might mean a lot to the people who frequent your coffee shop if you open one. If you never open one, you might never find those people. There's nothing trivial about that when it brings so many people together and fuels them through their days and gives them a place and a simple joy to bond over. There's nothing trivial about that, and that's just an example. That might be an example that rings true for some of you. Maybe some of you do work with coffee and tea or run a bar or a restaurant, and people that you grew up with might have looked down on any type of service work. And that work is actually incredibly meaningful and has a huge impact on so many people, especially when you do it with integrity and infuse. You can infuse so much healing energy in the foods and drinks that people imbibe. You can change them so much more than they even realize. They enjoy the taste of the cup of tea or coffee or the dish, but you can actually put incredible healing energy in that dish or drink. And that might be a dream that is calling to you that was trivialized by other people, or that, well, because you feel like your perfect cup of coffee doesn't exist, you might feel like your creation is not good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's so much more than good enough. It would have such a huge impact on those people that you are being called to serve in your way. And without yeah, it's a whole crumbling of the paradigm of what it means to serve, what it means to offer yourself, what it means to share your gift with the world. It's not, like, service is not supposed to be this self-effacing thing that it has been turned into for millennia by various destructive paradigms on Earth and elsewhere. Service is supposed to be an offering that serves you as well as the other person, that heals you as well as the other person, that feeds you as well as the other person. Because you love giving it so much that it actually satisfies something in you to give it. That's what service is supposed to be. We have the Knight of Wands. Yes, it's supposed to be something that lights your fire as well as everyone else's. Look how joyous that person is to be igniting their own passion and pursuing their own passion. The Knight of Wands is definitely an archetype that is in pursuit of passion or of something they are passionate about. So being in pursuit of that feeling of I am lit up and ignited and passionate is enough, contrary to popular belief. It's devoting your life to seeking out anything and everything that gives you that feeling, that spark, that drive, and exploring it to its fullest capacity is more than enough. And if that resonates with you, then it may be that the dream you've already achieved is discovering something or a few things that give you that feeling, but you haven't been letting yourself go towards those things for some reason. You've been refusing to let yourself go swimming, refusing to let yourself go take road trips for whatever reason. And you actually do have the ability to go do that, and it's time to go explore, like, why does this light me up? Not necessarily dissect it and analyze it and criticize it, but just go explore, like, learn about yourself and about the thing that lights you up. Get curious. So that can be about why it lights you up. It can also just be getting so incredibly curious about every single thing, every single aspect of this special interest of yours. Let yourself get carried away. And it will light, like, nurturing and protecting that flame is the most important thing you could ever do, because that's how other people get to light their candle off of it without you ever having your own candle or flame or hearth diminished. It does not diminish your hearth for other people to light their candle. It is the most important thing you will ever do, to light that hearth and protect it and keep it fed. The most important thing you will ever do. And if you have found that flame, and that's that shell, that dream you've been holding in your hands, it's time to feed it, to allow it to expand bigger so that it can light you up more and you can experience and feel and live more. Feel more vibrance, feel more aliveness, experience more facets of life that maybe you never imagined before and never knew were out there or in there, as the case may be. More facets of yourself than you ever knew were in there. And when it gets that big, other people can't help but see it, and you'll have ways to offer it without diminishing it. You don't have to go, oh, it's just a little thing. You get to go, yeah, it's huge. Isn't that great? Come share it with me. Come bask in the warmth of this bonfire with me. Like, I love how huge my fire is. I'm going to revel in it. Are you? Are you going to revel in it with me? And that actually will make it so easy also for other bonfire people to find you and for you to find them, because you'll be on the same wavelength, and your fires will be big enough that you can see each other and even feel each other's warmth. Yeah. And this union of fire and water is so cool too. This union of passion and flow, drive and surrender. So there's so much union of that in really just surrendering to going after with your whole heart and your whole self exactly what you've been divinely guided and called to go after and dive into. It's that union that I was talking about of, like, yeah, you're in the driver's seat. You're the one making the decisions. You're the one chasing the dream. You're doing it with spirit, though. You're not alone in the driver's seat. And the version of you in the driver's seat, when you surrender and just let yourself go after it with your whole heart and let spirit strip away all the things that you thought were parts of you that maybe really weren't, or maybe just conditioning and beliefs that weren't serving you, habits that weren't serving you. The version of you in the driver's seat gets to be your highest and best self, your most divine mind in the sense of, like, this is, your connection between spirit and your human mind, your human heart, is your connection, is your bridge between the spirit realm, your soul, and your physical vessel. Time to light it up, baby. It's like your soul is the flame and your life is the wick, and it's time to let them meet so that you can be lit up, and you will be amazed how many others you light up in the process. And others, you might be amazed too how much other people can actually light your candle as well, because we all have bad days. Like, this journey that you're on is not some sort of magical cure to never have bad days where you feel lost and feel like your flame is dimmed ever again. But it's inviting in that which both people and spirit and parts of yourself and wisdom and pursuits in life and rest, all of it, all of the things that can help relight your flame when it does get battered a little bit by the elements. And that can help protect it with you and for you. What else, Spirit? What other cards are we doing today? Okay, the Energy Oracle is what I'm being drawn to. What else does pile 3 need to know? Here's what the Energy Oracle deck looks like. What else does pile 3 need to know about the gifts coming in for them over the next 3 months? About the eclipse energy, about this journey and gift. The gift of offering your gift is something I just heard. What else does pile 3 need to know? Yeah, offering your gift is supposed to be a gift to you too. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be joyous. It's supposed to light you up. Some of you, I'm getting this image of, like, you know how we've been talking about the dream is already in your hands. It may be that you've done something like pursued a degree or a certificate in this thing that you love doing, but the process of doing that was so arduous that you feel kind of burned out now, or maybe you're still in the process of doing it and you're kind of like, is this robbing for me the joy of doing this thing that I thought I loved doing? And you're being called to reconnect with this thing as just the thing you love doing, and not within the parameters of I have to do it this specific way because I'm getting graded on it and I have to do it by this deadline. Reconnect to what actually kindles that flame in you in the first place, of why you love dancing, why you love drawing and painting, why you love brewing the perfect cup of coffee. It's not just about the drudgery, it's also about the magic, what makes it feel magical to you. Third chakra, Archangel Camille. Feel free to let me know if I'm mispronouncing that. As far as I'm aware, Camille, kind of like Samuel, but I'm not sure. I'm putting that under decisions because this third chakra, the solar plexus chakra, Manipura, is all about free will, all about agency and being empowered to make your own decisions and to understand why you're making them. Making decisions in the direction of feeding yourself and feeding your fire. Making decisions that allow you to lay back and surrender, that allow you to bask in the glory of the garden that you've been feeding. And it is your fire, the third chakra, the Manipura solar plexus. It's the fire of vivacity. It's the fire that keeps you alive, quite literally, because it physically correlates to these things like being able to digest, so that you can actually take the fuel in from the resources, take the fuel in from the life force of the things you eat, and turn them into your own life force. It's that ability to use fuel, to burn a fuel, to take the materials you have and surrender them to your fire and the forces of transmutation, to turn them into what you are trying to create, what you are devoted and committed to creating. A very Knight of Wands energy there. Person on a mission energy as well. It's like being able to take the resources and kind of, it's really not sacrifice, but sacrifice them to the fire of your mission. It's that dedication and commitment of like, I'm choosing to use this for this purpose. I'm not scared of burning up all these resources because I know what I'm getting out of it. I know what I'm using it for. I know what I'm building when I break this thing down into parts so that I can build this new thing. It's worth it. And this is also self-worth, this chakra. It's that confidence of, I'm worth actually taking in the fuel and the resources that I need to feed me and keep me alive and to sustain my fire. Yeah, for some of you, the portion of your journey that you're on right now may not be so much about these big, grand, external manifestations, but about kind of coming back to basics of like, I'm actually worth feeding myself quite literally and also metaphorically with the things that I love, with the things that make me feel alive, that remind me why I'm alive and why I'm here. And in case I'm having trouble remembering and accessing that worth, that's where we come back to that puzzle, that place in the scheme of things. It's like, that's why I'm part of everything, and everything is part of me. Everything is affected by me. It matters that I'm nice to myself. It matters that I feed myself good thoughts, nutritious thoughts, that I construct sort of a quote unquote, I'm picturing ourselves, myself, yourself in this group as like animals in a zoo. It matters that you construct the best possible enclosure, the most enriching activities and the most enriching food. It matters that you do that for yourself because you are a person, you are part of the whole. The whole is not complete without you, actually. I'm going to say that again. The whole is not complete without you. And so everyone else could be having a great time, but the whole is not having a great time if you're not. You are important. You are that important. And there's a rebirth in your self-worth right now that is inextricably interlinked with this birth of a dream, this letting yourself be the vessel for what you've been dying to bring through into the world, but have not let yourself have been scared you weren't good enough to, have been scared you'd fail at. There's no more time, I'm hearing from Spirit. It's like the state of the world, we are all familiar with it, even if we spend most of our days in denial of it. There's no more time for humanity to mess around, right? And that's not said to scare you, but just as a reminder of like, honestly, it's said with the energy of effort from Spirit of like, what do you think, what safety do you think lies in wait for you if you keep holding back? Like, that's an illusion. It always was, but it especially is now. Like, there's no safety in hiding out and waiting for the end of days. It's time to say F it, like screw it, and make a mess in the pursuit of something worth making a mess for, because your dream is, the people who will be touched by your dreams and your decisions are. It's all worth it, and you have the power. You have so much more than what it takes, and it's time to prove that to yourself by doing it. Prove to yourself that the Garden of Eden will not collapse around you by you touching the plants, right? Prove to yourself that you are capable by just starting, and you will find out. You don't need to know what the end of the staircase looks like. You just need to prove to yourself that you're capable of walking up this step and the next step and the next step, instead of thinking that you're going to fall and break your ankle the second you try to take a step. Whew. Okay, what else from this deck? This card, Spirit? Okay. So we have this one coming out. The Sun. All right. This vitality. This is a strong mirror of, the solar plexus is called solar for a reason. It's the sun within you. The worth within you, the power within you, the power generator within you. Yes, do the things that instead of draining you, make you feel like you actually get more energy from doing them. And if those things have kind of lost their shine, take a step back, let yourself rest, and let yourself remember the dream. Let yourself dream a new way of being into being. Remember the magic. Remember, because you can do the exact same thing with two polar opposite energies or attitudes, right? So if the way that you've been doing something that you used to enjoy is causing you to feel like it's a grind, take a step back, rest, crumple up and throw out the old way of approaching it. Who cares if you feel like you've wasted all this time approaching it in that way? It's in the garbage now. It's in the bin now. Draw a new map. Dream a new way into being. Do these things in the way that feeds you. It's not just about the thing, it's about the way that you do it as well. And you have that within you. That's the real dream, is the way that you live your life. The crumbling of that paradigm of thinking, oh, it has to be self-effacing, it has to be playing small, it has to be just enough, not too much, not too little. I have to walk this very thin line. No. Take up space, make a mess, fill up the whole puzzle piece. Do you think the sun is worried about how far its rays reach and making sure it doesn't reach too far? Absolutely not. The sun is feeding an entire planet of billions of organisms of life because it doesn't even consider holding back. And so whatever way of doing things has been causing you to feel drained, feel like you need to hold back, feel like you're constricted, it's time to just crumple that up and throw it in the bin, because you're doing the things that you're doing for a reason. You created this dream so far up to this point for a reason, and that reason was magic. That reason was offering a divine spark to yourself in the world. That reason was filling yourself up with a divine spark. There are ways of doing this thing that you love that don't deplete you, that don't drain you, that actually make you feel expansive and magnanimous and magnificent, that are not too good to be true, that overflow your cup and turn your cup into no more just a cup, but a whole pond, a whole lake, a whole ocean. I'm hearing that a song from The Greatest Showman, we can live a dream that we design. I think that's the lyric. I think about the world I see, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams are keeping me awake. A million dreams, I think, is the name of the song. Yeah. Absolutely dreaming. Okay. That card? Okay, I'm getting another card from the Energy Oracle. Door to personal healing and happiness. Yes. Your personal healing and happiness are inextricably linked with the healing and happiness that will be generated by you pursuing your dreams. The healing and happiness that will be generated for others as well. Your personal healing and happiness is not meant to be subservient to others that you serve. It's meant to actually come first, and the overflow then feeds and dominoes out to others. It's like, and this comes back to that energy of the dream is in your hands. The door is there. You've been turned away from it. Turn towards it. You've been assuming it was locked, or you've been assuming that for some reason you wouldn't be allowed to pass through. It's already open. It's already open. It's not locked. Go give it a little nudge and you'll see this rainbow on the other side. And we have the lily pads in both of these, kind of no mud, no lotus energy. Like, the things you've been through are not actually a waste any more than the waste that turns into compost for those lilies is waste. It is fertilizer. You will find that out naturally when you start to take those next steps up the staircase, when you plant the seeds. You will see how that fertilizer helps them grow. You don't have to know what purpose that crap served or is going to serve yet. Discard the old paradigm and find out how it will compost and fertilize the new paradigm by starting to walk into the new world. It's a whole new world. That song from Aladdin is coming through. Lots of music for this group. Maybe creative musical pursuits are a theme for people here. We have 5th chakra, Archangel Gabriel. The 5th chakra is the 3rd eye. Yeah, that crumbling of the old paradigm is like a dissolving of a veil that has been blocking your vision. And this is all about bringing your vision into reality, this group. It's all about the dream doesn't have to stay a dream. You know what? I've just been reading a novel recently. If you're into fantasy novels and romance novels, you might have read it yourself. It's by Carissa Broadbent. It's her Crowns of Nyaxia series. And a really big theme in the first 2 books of that series is there's this goddess who has been languishing in anguish, languishing in grief for her lost love, her husband god, for so long that she's let it turn her really bitter and cruel, to the point that some of us might not really even consider her a goddess anymore, right? Because she's not a force for source anymore, really. And she repeatedly tells one of the main mortal characters in this series that she should let her lover also simply die or be killed, because that will preserve their love in perfect innocence. And it's better to have it that way, because that way it can't hurt her. And the main character realizes over and over again, like, that doesn't make any sense, because I never get to have the love that way. I never get to experience it. I would rather have my person than have this like fantasy fiction dream, this untouchable, like, unreality that I don't even get to have. Like, it's just an idea. It doesn't make any sense the way this goddess is viewing the world. And it's very similar to this idea of like, oh, I'd rather leave my dream a dream so that it stays perfect, because I know my reality can never match up to that perfection. It's like, but this is life. Like, it's meant to be on fire. It's meant to be lit up. It's meant to be bright. It's meant to overflow. Don't you want to live it? Don't you want to get to actually experience your dream as reality, even though that means it will be imperfect? That's actually a lot more perfect in the ways that matter than having this flawless sort of porcelain image of it, right? This bubble reality that isn't even really real. So this is all about bringing your vision into reality and really accepting, like, it's better for me to bring this into reality imperfectly than to leave it as a vision, than to leave it, to let it die and wither away before it's ever even born. We have all of this rebirth and new birth energy, the Fool, all of this. And it's choosing, you know what, I actually do. I am actually making the choice to bring this into reality rather than let it die a dream. I'm not going to let it die before it's ever even born. I'm not going to accept the failure of never trying, because that's less painful in my mind than the failure of trying and not getting it perfect. Is it really less painful? That deserves to be questioned. If that's something that is hounding you and haunting you, that really deserves to be questioned. Because my vote is that it's not less painful. It's actually much more painful to live with that angst and anguish of this dream never gets to be realized. And sure, I have it in my head, but I don't really have it at all. In my opinion, I was trying to think of the right word. It's not experience. In my reality, it's actually much more painful to live that way, because it's not really letting yourself live at all. It's trapping yourself in a dusty corner of an attic instead of letting yourself out in the sun, where you can be seen, where you can feel the sun instead of just seeing it outside the window. Swimming in the water instead of just looking at the ocean, diving off the cliff instead of thinking, oh, well, it looks like it would be fun to jump. And that doesn't mean don't take precautions. Make sure you cliff dive in a place where there aren't jagged rocks waiting to cause your early demise at the bottom, right? But you're still gonna go do it. You're committed enough to take those precautions and make those plans, and at the end of the day say, I have done all the planning I can. I know it's not gonna be perfect, but screw it. It's worth it to me to do it. That is what I have for you today, Group 3. This has been a shockingly profound reading, in my opinion. I had no idea that I was in for this when I started this reading. Any last messages, Spirit, for this group? They're saying no new cards, but they're drawing my attention to the singing bowl on the Queen of Cups card. I was looking at it as a bowl, and I was thinking about filling it up to overflowing with all these other, cups and, the protective space for a fire to live in. But it's actually a singing bowl. Music is definitely important for people in this group. I'm hearing that quote, what is the quote? Something about a bird doesn't sing because blank, it sings because it has a song. It's like, sing the way birds do, live your life the way birds sing. Yes, of course, birds are communicating with each other, but there's also this freedom where we're like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, but the bird isn't trying to be perfect and hone their craft and make the most beautiful song possible. They're not trying to, whittle away at their technique at singing. It's just what they do. Singing and dancing are also things that humans just do naturally when left to our own devices. We can see it in any society that has ever been born across the globe. It's the not doing of it that's weird. It means that something is restricted and held back, some sort of flow between different humans and between the divine and the human form. It's like, let yourself sing, let yourself dance, simply because it is part of you, part of your makeup. Let that makeup emanate out to the surface, like the vibrations. I have a singing bowl here that I'm gonna tap. Like the vibrations of the singing bowl emanate out through the room. Like, if you were a gong or a singing bowl or a bell, what sound, what vibration would come out when the divine struck the gong, when the divine rang the bell that is you? That's your song. You living your life involves, as things happen, as life unfolds, as life happens to you, you simply letting yourself resound the way you naturally resound in response to life striking your gong, ringing your bell. What if you were your truest self? What would you do? That is the gift of this eclipse in these next 3 months, is revealing that and kind of presenting it to you on a silver platter of like, hey, you may have forgotten because you're so burnt out from all the work you've done to get here, but that work has paid off. You actually get to live this dream now. It's time to actually start living it. And you should be really proud of all the work that you've put in to get to this point where you can actually live this dream, where you do have this available and accessible to you, because I know it wasn't always, and I know you clawed tooth and nail to get here, and you should be really effing proud of that, instead of second guessing yourself and undermining yourself, kneecapping yourself with self-doubt. Those voices belong to the past. Bury them there. Like I said, crumple up the old way of being, the old paradigm, and toss it in the bin. Burn them if you need to with the Knight of Wands. Write things down and burn them if you need to. Write things down, and then write down, like, what is the opposite of this that I could turn into an affirmation for myself that I actually believe, this thought that's hounding me and making me second guess myself. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to take the sting out of it and the mystery out of it and the power out of it by seeing how small it actually is when I look at it on paper. I'm going to go, wait a second, if that's not true, what is true instead? And I'm going to write that down too. And I'm going to say that to myself every day, and maybe I'm going to burn the old paper that the old version is on. Whatever practice in that vein resonates for you. Big self-empowerment, self-affirmation reminders here. Feed your sun, feed your fire, feed your power. Allow yourself to enjoy your rainbow, enjoy the sunlight, bask in the waters, swim in the waters. Allow yourself to make a mess and take up space and fill in the puzzle piece space that is meant for you perfectly to completion, instead of holding back and depriving one of those corners of that puzzle piece space of the puzzle piece that is meant for it, which is you. Make that decision on your own behalf for your own highest and best good. And good luck, Spirit is saying. Good luck. Not because you need it, but because they are with you on this journey. And they are imbuing you with that luck, imbuing you with that good fortune of having the divine on your side. If you continue to walk with the divine and walk with them, your spirit guides, your highest self, the divine will keep you on the path. They will protect you and keep you and see you through. In part by opening up your third chakra and your fifth chakra, opening up your ability to see clearly, by taking away the soul-sucking, third chakra diminishing veils of questioning your self-worth. Yeah, it's like the same things that are diminishing your self-worth and your confidence and your willingness to like act powerfully and step forward and stand in your power are also actually blocking your vision. It's like the things that conditioned you to think that that was reality, that was truth, that you weren't able to or weren't good enough to like step forward powerfully like that, those are actually lies. Let those fall away so that you can see the truth underneath, within, behind. And you'll be amazed at how much letting those fall away also like lets your light shine, makes you so shiny and new, makes you radiate out and emanate out. And maybe stop being so shocked by how shiny and new and powerful you are, and own it. That energy of the Knight of Wands that we were talking about, of like, yeah, isn't it awesome how big my bonfire is? Want to revel in it with me? Like, that's the attitude, not the attitude of, I'm a little scared other people are gonna reject me for how big my bonfire is, or because it's not the color of normal fire, or because it's so bright it hurts their eyes to look straight at it. They don't have to look. They don't have to hang out at your bonfire. And them choosing not to doesn't have to diminish your verve and enthusiasm and being like, oh my God, it's so awesome how big and bright my bonfire is and how purple it is and how rainbow colored it is. And I'm going to keep reveling in it. And there are other people who are going to revel in it with me. And it's fine that that's not everyone. That's how it's supposed to be. The people who need me are the ones who need me. Not everyone does. Any single person needing me is more than enough for me to know that it's worth doing what I'm doing and keeping this fire fed and strong and beautiful and bright. So thank you so much for being here. Some of you may find, with the attention having been drawn to the singing bowl as well, that literal singing bowls in real life or in meditations, online, things like that, may help, like, with, because they're such potent energy cleansers, especially when you have them physically in the space with you, but even when you're listening to them through headphones or what have you. You may find that those cleansing vibrations help you clear your mind, so that you can root down in the present and go, okay, what's really true? I'm burning away the clutter that has crowded my mind with these negative, untrue thoughts. I'm going to use these meditations or these sounds or this music to just throw all that away, burn all that away. And then I'm going to see, okay, what's here now that all that is burned away? What's actually in the present moment? And I'm going to explore, because that's the point of this whole energy, is I get to explore, I get to experiment, I get to play. I'm going to see what's real. I'm going to find out for myself. I'm going to let myself touch things instead of just look but don't touch. I'm going to let myself try things on instead of saying, oh no, that fabric is too nice, too good, too fancy for me to let myself even try that dress on. You won't know until you try it on whether you like it or not. And if you do like it, that will tell you, or don't like it, that will tell you a lot about what other dresses you want to try on in the future and what clothes you like to wear for different occasions. Let yourself try it on. Let yourself try out using different things instead of thinking you're going to make a mess in a bad way. Recognize the mess is part of the process. Let's keep making a mess. Let's enjoy the process of making a mess. Instead of living in fear of having to clean it up, recognize I'm always making messes and cleaning them up. So let's do so in a way that's exploring and playing and having fun and learning from the process and bringing my vision into reality and exploring what really is real and true with all of that illusion of unworthiness stripped away and disempowerment stripped away. what really is here for me to work with and play with, what really is here within myself to ignite and bring into the world. What is it that I really want to say? As Mary Oliver said, what is it that you wish to do with your one wild and precious life? So thank you so much for being here, Pile 3. I'm so honored to get to bring through these messages for you. Check out the description box in my bio for links to my website to book a personal reading. And I look forward to seeing you in the next reading.